Just when I thought that we got the last Sparking Zero interview before the game releases, we just got a brand new one from none other than IGN of all people. They interviewed the producer, same one that we reviewed the interview from before. And yeah, I'm hoping that this interview is a lot better than the last one, because even though the last one had some new information, a little bit, it was more on why they made Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, which of course the only reason to do so is because
money.
No, I'm just kidding. I know that there is a huge dedicated fan base to Budokai Tenkaichi that is around my age group. I mean, I would say that if you played any of the Budokai series when it first released, or Budokai Tenkaichi 3 for that matter, you are officially UNC status. So yeah, my millennials, where are you guys at?
Lookout cookout.
But there is one reason to be extremely hopeful. There's a lot of good information and excited for this interview, and that is because it finally answers the question as to, will we see Dragon Ball Super manga characters in the game? And the answer is not just a simple yes or no. So sit back, relax, let's get into this interview and see if there's some new secrets that Jun Furutani, producer of Sparking Zero, is going to reveal for us.
Let the games begin.
Can you talk a little bit about what it's like creating a story mode for something like Dragon Ball that's so long and has so many sequels, movies, battles, character plot lines? How do you decide what to focus on, what to cut, and what to lightly gloss over? This question is perfection. Yes, I mean, every single Dragon Ball game at this point that has followed the story basically tells Dragon Ball Z Saiyan Saga to the Majin Saga, and some games like Xenoverse and Fighters, they have their own little spin-off stories with the Time Patrollers or Android 21, but really we get the exact same thing over and over again, and there's so much to cover. What gets dropped at the end? Yeah, so a good way to think about it, this is about the bottom line, which is that this game's a battle game. So in the episode battles that you played earlier, we wanted to focus on which battles highlighted the characters the best in the story. And obviously the side story stuff you can kind of see in the cutscenes. So I think a better way of thinking about it is more than fully enjoying the story, we want the players to fully enjoy the best battles in the Dragon Ball franchise. And additionally, you played those episode battles earlier. We didn't really go into branching maps, but we wanted to also focus on battles that could potentially branch out into different things. What if this guy defeated him instead of losing to him? Like those kinds of battles. So yeah, that is something that we put extra focus on, the branching fights. And I mean, this answer makes complete sense. It really doesn't need to be this long. It's about fighting. And it's about what people think Dragon Ball is about. That's exactly what Sparking Zero is about. We're not getting into Goku driving and Piccolo, with this girl that's eyeing him. No, we're not going to get into all that. We're going to be getting into the fights.
Is that what you think? Mess around with it and find out.
Did you just say fuck around and find out?
So I actually wanted to touch upon those branches. Can you go into a little detail about how significant those branches actually go? How much of a different game am I playing if I follow one of those branches versus someone who just followed the canonical story of Dragon Ball? Great question. How deep do these what-ifs go? Are they like 20-parters or more, or what? What's going on here? So it's a really hard question to answer because depending on which branch we're talking about, it could skew in a completely different direction. But some branches might just go back to the actual canonical route again. For example, the example he used is very early. If you were to play the Goku episode battles when you fight Raditz, there's some smaller branches that have been there, but it takes you back to the canonical route. And obviously after Raditz is Vegeta, and after Vegeta is Frieza. So yeah, some of them are just blips. I guess some of them kind of take you in a more different, very drastically different direction. To summarize it all, Basically, he means that no matter what you choose, it'll always end up with the next fight, at least for most of these, which I assumed was the case. There's no way they're going to give us like some sad ending of, you know, Saiyan Saga Vegeta killing Goku because Goku doesn't go to King Kai's planet. Goku's going to learn how to either be strong enough to fight against Vegeta or die himself and go to King Kai's planet. Absolutely. So I know you probably can't say, but I got to ask, through these what if scenarios, is there any chance that we could see any new fusions born in this game? I have a feeling that it's a no, because there are no fusion characters you can play as, and I feel like those would be like cool characters to do so. But let's see what Furatani says. Very cool question, hard question to answer. We want to leave that ifs a little hidden for until the game is out. That is a polite way of saying no. Absolutely not. There's no way. I don't believe that this is the case. I feel like if this was the case, we would have these characters unlocked to be able to play with these what if fusions or whatever. I do think this character is one of those characters that probably be very easy to make if they were to make a fusion character. So I do believe he is a possibility, but still a stretch. Maybe down the line, absolutely, but now I don't think so. And this guy's only answers, got it. And he says, we'll leave it at that for now. It's a no. I don't think it's gonna happen, bro. So I think that one of the things that Tenkaichi fans appreciate most about the series are all the little touches and keen attention to detail. Like some matches have unique dialogue when you start a match between two characters, or the fact that Mr. Satan can't fly, so he uses a jetpack in Tenkaichi 3. Are there any small touches meant specifically for big fans of Dragon Ball that you're particularly proud of in this game? That very specific targeted question. I am all here for it. Yeah, so one of the things that they pay close attention to is how the characters actually move and the expression that they have. And going deeper into it, you saw the various differences versions of Goku that were in the game, and depending on which Goku from which Dragon Ball that you're playing, the way his clothes ripped will be completely different. So I don't know. Frieza, I guess, there's a very distinctive way that Goku fights Frieza. There was a very distinctive way of how his clothes ripped, and something more recent like Super, there's a very different way that his clothes ripped there. So I get that. The battle damage, and especially for a Namek Super Saiyan Goku, is going to be very different, but nothing that we haven't seen before in Budokai Tenkaichi. So very subtle touches like that is something that they pay close attention to, but wanted to keep it as true to the original work as possible. The other thing is like hairstyles as well. Subtle differences that the true Dragon Ball fans will notice. You mentioned that depending on the characters' combinations, they have different conversations, but also if you were to throw certain characters with certain characters, there's a special action that happens in the game. Is he saying what I'm thinking he's saying? Tag team, maybe? Tag team matches? This is a very non-answer, really. I mean, you can see it yourself, but because I've seen a Kid Goku move around on a Nimbus, I'll take his word that it's very faithful that these characters are going to have a lot of Easter eggs in their fighting styles and moves and damage and everything. Can you talk to me a little bit about the Encyclopedia mode and just what made you want to include this in the game, and what's something that you're particularly fond of with regards to it? Yeah, so the Encyclopedia mode, I guess it may not have been called Encyclopedia mode in the past, but there was a mode where Chi-Chi introduces the characters in the previous version, but again, we wanted to kind of power that up as you saw earlier with Videl and Bulma as well. So yeah, it's something that we felt that it was something that players enjoyed back then, and obviously would continue to enjoy with the newest Sparking Zero. So yeah, that's something that we wanted to implement into the game. I mean, pretty cut and dry. I know you guys announced they're announcing the giant roster of 150 plus characters, but obviously this is an age where there's DLC to keep games going. Do you have any DLC plans for Sparking Zero? Are there going to be character packs, additional story content, or anything else on the horizon? So in the regards to the characters, they have plans to release 3 DLC packs covering characters from Dragon Ball Super, Hero, and from Daima. The only thing I can think of is one pack for Superhero would probably be the Cell Max and Gamma 1 and Gamma 2, and then probably another pack would probably have Gohan, Beast Gohan, and Orange Piccolo. That's kind of what I see. And then for Daima, it's going to be probably Vegeta and Piccolo, I would imagine, is the ones that, and some of the demons maybe. So So there are 3 packs total for those two, Dragon Ball Super, Superhero, and Daima, split into 3 basically. I know it's thinking maybe too far ahead, but I just want to get your thought on it. But there's a lot of cool characters in the Dragon Ball Super manga right now that I think a lot of fans would love to see, like Renola and Moro. Are those characters that are on your radar, or would you like to touch upon characters in the manga that haven't gotten to appear in the anime yet? Okay, this is the question you've been waiting for. This is the answer all of you guys have wanted since the game came out. This is what it's all been about. It's all been about this question. What is the answer for Rotani?
Edge of my seat over here.
It's difficult for him to talk about these things. Yeah, due to various situations, I'm sure you understand. I don't know what that means. Who is him? Is that Toyotaro? Do they need to get some information from Toyotaro first, or are they all clear from Toyotaro? Maybe? I don't know. Who is this mysterious him? Who is it? Because this is as much of a non-answer as possible. At this point, the short answer is it's difficult for him to talk about these things. Yeah, due to various situations. I'm sure you understand. The only thing I can think of is the whole drama with the Dragon Ball room and who has the rights to Dragon Ball's future when it comes to the anime, and if they're going to be animating the story or the manga or anything like that. That's really the only thing that I can think of would be an issue. So I guess the short answer that he could have said right now is a no. Not right now. There is no plans for Dragon Ball Super's manga characters to be in Sparking Zero as of right now until they clear things up. I would assume if they're going to animate any of the manga at all, which I don't think they will. But I think that if they get the green light to start animating Super as an anime again, I think that is when we will get some of these characters. Sure. So talk to me about the stages of Sparking Zero. Do you think about how many will be in the game, or are there any unique elements of them individually? As of right now, there's 12 stages in the game, and that may or may not change in the future, but there's tons of gimmicks per stage. For example, if we're fighting on planet Manu, if you were to use a strong move going down from the sky and you happen to hit the planet when Frieza is fighting Goku towards the end of that saga. Pretty sure you recognize what I'm talking about. I think Manu is Namek, is what he's talking about. Another one that we could bring up is in the Tenkaichi stage where we have fans watching from the outside. In the very beginning, you can really only fight in the area where you're supposed to fight, but for example, if somebody were to use a skill that goes into the bleachers, the people who are watching run away, and then it would kind of effectively expand the stage, so fighters are able to fight in a wider stage as well, which I've seen too. So this is a pretty cool little addition. Yet another thing, I think I kind of mentioned this to you when you were playing, but you're able to lose sight of your enemy. You're not always constantly locked onto them, and that's kind of by design. But because if you do a big move and you blast them far away, you're not going to be able to find them right away, especially if you're an android that has no key and you're not able to detect them. So that's in the game. That's all in the game. I did not know that. That is awesome. I didn't realize that you would be able to lose that tracker, meaning that you can ambush characters and hit them from little areas where they can't see you. So if you're not playing as an android character, you could potentially get blasted away, kind of sneak up to your enemy and do a sneak attack on them, which is canonical. The androids actually do that against Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z. So yeah, that's another thing that you want to look out for. And obviously, going back to your question, you were asking about stages. There's tons of objects on the map, so you could kind of use them to kind of line of sight yourself away from your enemies as well. So that's something we want players to experiment with, and you kind of got first-hand experience as well. And he keeps going. Another thing he wants our fans to try out is, you know how in Dragon Ball, whether when you're using a skill, when you're charging, you'll see all this dust flying up in the air, and sometimes the characters in the show come out of the dust and perform an attack. That's something that they've also on as well. So yeah, there's ways to combat this dust from going up also. You could purposely kind of get the dust to fly up more, so you create a wall that makes it harder for the enemy to see you, which is something that I have seen happen in the game. So yeah, that's something you want the players to check out as well. This is the question that I want to know. Crossplay is something that I don't believe is currently planned for Sparking Zero. If it is, please correct me, but can you talk a little bit about what the challenges are with regards to including crossplay in the game, and is it something that you hope to include post-launch? One of the touchy subjects that's very difficult for him to explain. Who is this him? Who is this guy? I mean, I need to know who he's talking about, the master behind Sparking Zero and other stuff related to Dragon Ball. The short professional answer is yeah. There's a difficult that we have to go through to get crossplay to work. So yeah, that's where we stand right now. And as for your question about future, obviously we don't know yet, but yeah, so they want to, but they don't have any plans to do it yet. Speaking of single player content, you have the episode battle, but what else is there for single players after they complete the campaign? Is there any kind of challenges or rewards awaiting those who want to keep playing Sparking Zero after finishing the story but maybe don't want to go online and play other people? And Furutani is probably like, stop asking me these questions that I can't answer. One of the features that players like you mentioned earlier would probably partake in is custom battles. Obviously that's the mode where people could go in, create their own custom battles, and either share them or play them for themselves. So yeah, what you could potentially do is make a really hard custom battle and try to clear yourself, and after that you could share it. Or maybe if you want to try what other players are making as well, you could go search for what other players have made. They could use the tags that indicate what kind of battle it is, so you could search in the game by the tags, which is something like that's insane for me to even wrap my head around. But I'm excited to see what kind of stories we have in the future of Sparking Zero. So I mean, there's thousands of thousands, I mean not thousands, but it is pretty limitless in terms of what you could play after clearing the episodic battles. So the requirements for uploading a custom battle is that you need to be able to clear it, so you can't just set impossible demands to the player. If you can upload it and be like, hey guys, try to clear it. But flip side of that is like, okay, you make a really hard stage, you clear it, and it's kind of a way of showing off to other players like, hey guys, check this out, I made this super crazy custom battle, I cleared it, what's up? So basically they're leaning on custom battles to be part of what happens after the game is basically beat, which could have a long lifespan. I mean, Fortnite has a bunch of custom battles that have been, or custom matches, custom games, custom things that have been feeding the community. This could be that for Dragon Ball fans, but I would still like to see more added content, like story content, added to the game. That's basically it, guys. I did like this interview a lot better than the last one. A lot more questions are answered, but still so many not answered. He will not answer certain questions because the man is watching him.
Prepare yourself, 10 Saiyans.